With that out the way, let's finally set the stage for our guest of honor. All right, I'm done pushing my wares. I'm ready to start the show.
Badr
Not
selling.
only, yeah, I'm done selling, but you know what? You always got to be selling. And our guest of honor today, all right, he's a master at that. Not only is he the head of marketing and community of Shortboxed, but he's also a professional comedian. He's the founder of the Drunk Theater Company based out of LA. He's also a self-professed art hound, and he's a comic book nerd that is dedicated to bringing the fun back to collecting comics. Shortbox Nation, it's my privilege to welcome Ryan Crowe to the show. Ryan, welcome. How are you?
What's up, everybody? Shortbox Nation. It's gonna be hard not to say the ED at the end because that's the we always get that at the office. We're like, hey, it's Shortbox. It's a past tense. Come on.
No, dude. That's why this whole episode, I feel like I am overemphasizing that ED at the end. I'm like, Shortbox.
Shortbox Ed. We can say it.
They're gonna be emailing the show, being like, "Hey, where's all the graded comics? I went on your."
Yeah, exactly. All I'm seeing is a bunch of smiling idiots gushing out, in audio form. Ryan, you live in California right now, right?
San Francisco.
You're based out of California?
San Francisco.
Okay,
that's right.
Got it. Were you born and raised there?
No, I was born in Georgia and raised
word.
in Missouri. So this is a whole different and better, pardon me, Georgians and Missourians. I like it a lot better out in California.
No, don't pardon.
I don't blame you at all. I'm sure they'd probably agree with you too.
If they ever left, they would know. I mean,
Yeah, they see the light.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, how'd you make your way from Georgia to the other side of the country?
Whew, well, we moved. Geez, this is a story. I'm old, so it's.
Dude, we're trying to get to know you, man. We got to get to know you, buddy. This is about you.
Okay, yeah. I mean, well, if that's the case, I moved from Georgia to Missouri when I was a kid. Grew up there. Life happened. I was a nerd, but I was always I'm a little. If you can see me, I got a backwards hat on, which tells you that I've got some bro blood in me too, which I try to fight as much as possible. I had a single mom growing up, and so one of the things I did is I was like, well, she wasn't around, so I read comic books, just sort of something to keep me busy. And then if I had to go places with her, I would always have Am I talking too loud? I think I'm screaming because I'm watching this little sound bar go up and down. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, I'm super. So ADHD is a thing that probably happened to me when I was a kid. You saw it just happen there. But anyway, so I had comic books. I would say my first like comic book entity was Ninja Turtles, the cartoon. The biggest thing for me. I love the Turtles, but the first comic book hero that is pure comic books. I didn't know the Turtles were comic books at the time, by the way. Let me turn this up a little bit. Okay, can you hear me better? Jesus, sorry, I'm getting distracted by the tech. So comic books. My first comic book hero that I really liked was Superman. Still is my favorite. I know, super boring, vanilla ice cream of superheroes. But so that was my boy. I still like Superman the best. But then and then after that I got into like Spawn, and I got into the image scene really early in my life. I was probably 6 or 7, didn't really know what I was reading when Image came out. And so I got really into Savage Dragon and Spawn, and I don't know, Gen 13 was out then, Wildcats, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning of my comic career. And then whatever, life happened. How did I come out here? Well, in 2008 I was in college, and the big market crash happened. So I was studying Russian at the time at my university, and I wanted to be a foreign intelligence analyst. So that was my big goal. I spoke Russian pretty well, and my family's been in America for a long time. So I had a couple of attributes that made me like good for that kind of service. But then I started doing social media a lot, and then Google released a social media platform, and I became a suggested user on it. So I was like, so this is crazy, by the way. It was like, whenever you signed up for Gmail, which is everybody in 2012 and 2013, I was in the suggested user, so I was right next to it would be like Snoop Dogg, Mark Cuban, me, the Black Eyed Peas, and so I had a huge. I know, it was wild, and how boring would I have been?
You were dunking on the Black Eyed Peas?
Yeah. This is Black Eyed Peas on their way out. So I got to be anyway. Yeah. So I mean, whatever. But that was on that list, and then I was like, oh, I can do this for a living. This is before influencers were a thing. It was pretty early on. So I was like, well, I don't want to work for the government. I don't want to be in academia. I don't want to be a Russian professor. Because I can go have fun and do this. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Yes, no, you will. I still can speak it a little bit. So anyways, I was like, well, okay, well, if I want to work in tech, where do I have to go? California. And then when I moved here, I joined a company, which is where I met. This is gonna tie up. I swear to God.
Right, there we go.
Where I met Gene, who is the founder, one of the founders and the CEO of Shortboxed. So we started Shortboxed with the other co-founder as a blog in 2013-ish. And the reason we started it is because back then, if you had a blog, you could say you were press. So we would get press passes to cons for free. We'd have to pay to go to cons.
Wow. Blogs were the shit, man. Like they were before podcasts, like blogs was the shit. Especially if you had your own. Yeah.
So that's how I'm here. And then 10 years later, after I hung out in Silicon Valley for a while, worked in all these tech companies, and I worked in tech companies and video games, and then Gene was like, "Hey, we actually turned this into a business while you were off doing something else. Why don't you come back and reclaim your spot with Shortbox?" And so now I'm here.
That's great.
Damn.
That's great.
Ryan, I'm gonna give you that was such an efficient answer. Did you know that you just knocked out 3 of my questions back to back and one perfect? There we go.
Man.
Yo,
Perfect.
That was excellent. So Ryan, was it Image or was it TMNT that turned you into a lifelong comic fan? It sounds like maybe a little bit of both of them. Do you remember that? Do you remember a specific comic book that was the one for you?
The comic book for me was this is gonna date me. It's gonna date me so bad. It's The Death of Superman. That made me a comic book reader. Technically the first comic that I bought for myself was a 3-part series, Batman vs. Predator. And it was cool. It was dope.
Wasn't it? Who was the art? Was that Andy Kubert doing the art?
I feel like it was. That sounds right.
Long. Yeah, that's right. It was Long as Batman. It was incredible. Alien has always been one of my favorite movies, and so Predator. Nice. I was reading all these Predator novels, and then I saw Batman vs. Predator. I like Batman, which is so funny because now I have a sort of fake grudge against Batman because he gets so often compared to Superman. And when the guy in the Marvels trailer said Batman's a fascist, I was the only one who was like, yeah, he's right. That's right. I was like, yes, no, yeah.
You're like, look, I studied Russian. I would know this, all right?
I would know. Batman is right there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
So that was it. So it was Superman, Death of Superman.
Nice.
It was so big. It was so hyped. In if you remember the zeitgeist of the mid '90s, the Death of Superman was one of the major comic events in history because Superman dies, and obviously in comics, people weren't really sure if they're going to bring him back and whatever. And they made it because this is when comic companies were really like, yo, we can make collectaxobles. Right. So not only was that event important in my life as sort of like a one-off ant in the sort of the taxonomy of existence, but it was important for our entire industry because now we have comic collectibles, and that's when you really started to see the overindulgence of companies trying to bank on collectibles.
Yeah, that's probably one of the earliest maybe precursors to the comic bubble, that comic craze in the 90s.
I think that book single-handedly almost created that 90s comic bubble, and you're right, it was the most heavily exactly, and it was the most heavily covered events in not only comic book history but in the media in general. I don't think there's ever been that much media coverage for a comic event. I mean, since then, what was that, 1991? I wasn't alive yet, but even
all right, Zach, calm down.
Listen. I wasn't. I can't say like I was there, but I think
I was in the trenches.
Crow is like, don't you rub your good knees? Don't rub it in. All right, you got good knees.
I tried to sneak it in there all.
Listen, I couldn't say like I was there. Yeah, I couldn't say that I was there, but I think even the only thing I'd ever seen that was that heavily covered in just CNN and all those guys was when Miles Morales was revealed as Spider-Man in 2011. I remember seeing that on the news, but I still don't think that would have. I mean, the impact of that is nowhere near.
This would. I'm going to table this because this would actually make for a good like dedicated topic is comic coverage in the media. Because now you got me thinking about the time that my first instance of seeing a comic event or just comics in the media was the death of Captain America. I remember watching that.
Like 2006 or something.
Yeah, I remember watching that on the news.
Right.
And my dad also watching it and losing his ever-loving shit. I think that was the day that he slowly declined from being a Marvel fan. Was that day?
That one didn't. I think
slowly
they were
declined. I'm glad you.
What'd you say, Ryan?
That sentence could have ended much harder. You're like, there was a slow decline. He was in bad health already, and then
look,
it got him.
You're right.
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, you're right. Decline is a pretty harsh word. That was the start of him, cutting ties with Marvel. Is that day, the day they killed Captain America and plastered it all over the news? I'll never forget. But very good topic, Crowe. So can you speak to the Can you speak to, like, I guess, the transition from Shortboxed being a blog to taking the leap to becoming a dedicated app? And then, if you don't mind, dude, give us the TLDR of like, what is it that you do? What is the head of marketing and community?
Yeah, so we'll get to this. So, all right, so how do we start this? So when we first started the brand Shortboxed, we all work in tech, and so the founders, the two business founders, there's two business founders, three brand founders. I'm not the business founder because I wasn't there when they turned it into a legitimate business. But BJ and Gene are the two co-founders of the company. But when we were starting it out, it was the three of us writing blog articles. BJ is a super talented software engineer. Gene is an incredible businessman. We all met in tech. Gene and BJ were friends. I worked with Gene. So we started out doing going to cons. Now, I had just gotten out of grad school. I had no money. So I went to a couple of cons with them, and, I couldn't afford anything. Like, they were all like buying these awesome books. And so finally I had to dip out. Because one time we went to one con, I remember specifically, where I bought my first two collectible comics. It was Next Men 21, I love Hellboy, and the first appearance of the Teen Titans, Brave and the Bold 54. Now that cost me, I don't know, $400 at the time, maybe $350. And I was like, holy shit. It was an incredible amount of money. And I was like,
I'm broke for the next year. Maybe two.
I had just moved out to San Francisco. Things are expensive out here, and I was just like, And I had a pull list too, so I was spending money on comic media, and I was like, guys, I can't keep going out to these things, because we went to a couple more, and I would just kind of stand around and look at things I can't have, and so I kind of dipped out for a little bit, and then I got a new job, and I kind of parted ways with Gene and BJ a little bit. But I kept in touch, because every once in a while they would have some new thing they were doing with Shortbox, and they were like, hey, check out this thing we're doing. Let us know when you want to come back. And they had worked at other big companies, and so they were more established in their careers. And they were off buying and being comic book dealers. They would buy entire lots and they would sell. And so in that time of them like being really involved with the community, being sellers themselves, going to cons all over the country, being in and out of the high-end graded comic stuff. Gene's collection right now is like 8 books, and they're amazing. You'll have to talk to Gene about his rare book collection. And BJ has some too. So anyways, in the time frame from when I left the blog until probably 2020, they were like, hey, we work in tech. The comic book industry is so old. Do you know, like, if you want to buy a comic book, before Shortboxed or some of the even other apps, I'm not going to name them because they're competitors, and I'm not going to do that for them. But anyway,
no free plugs on this show, damn it.
Yeah, not this show, not today, Satan.
There we go.
But like, if you wanted to buy a graded comic book, you have a few avenues open to you, and they're all old. One, you either go to a website that looks like it was built in 1992, an Angel Fire. Zack, before you were born, sorry, or GeoCities, which you might remember.
Oh, yeah,
or you go to an auction house, or you go to a store, which is the same two ways you could buy something back in the 1800s, right? Exactly. The industry that we have is extremely old, and because it's people sort of dealing with it as a hobby, or people who have brick and mortar stores for a collectible. So they just saw that, and they're like, there's so many ways that we could. Gene and BJ said we could bring this hobby into contemporary, like into modernity, right? Like we can give it stuff, and it won't take that much because there's not a lot of people doing it, and if they are doing it, they're not doing it well. eBay is the biggest. It's not really a plug because everybody knows who they are. eBay is like the biggest competitor we have, and shopping on eBay sucks. You know, it sucks for somebody. There's fees. You don't know what you're getting, right? If somebody screws you, you have like not a lot of ways to get back. So they were like, well, how can we do eBay but better? How do we make it look like a contemporary app? Now, BJ, super awesome engineer. Gene, super great businessman. They figured it out. And so in 2020, they came up with a prototype for Shortboxed, got a couple of the big dealers because, right, they've been in the community for a decade now, super active. They found people to test it, and they went to real dealers, real collectors, real comic book buyers to say, what do we need, and are we doing it right? And then they released the first prototype of Shortboxed in 2020. So that's how they went from blog to app.
Wow. So it sounds like it was important for them to get direct feedback from people that would be using the app and, conducting business.
Yeah, that's right. So one of the things you'll find, and what this is business, this is capitalism, is that people know that there's money to be made through market research in the collectible comics industry. Like it's $1 billion industry, aftermarket collectible comics, aftermarket. Not even talking about the opportunities there are in with direct sales and publisher stuff. So there are people who are like, okay, well, collectibles are big right now. Look at shoes, look at toys, video games are blowing up right now. How can we get into that market? And then they'll just try to build something out, right? The NFTs are also a part of that conversation. That's great. I mean, that's how economic niches get filled. That's how the ecosystem fills up as somebody looking for opportunity, which is fine. However, we are collectors, and we have the know-how to build something that is useful for collectors. And not only do we have the know-how in-house, but we have advanced know-how because of our backgrounds in tech. When you spend 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in tech, you learn a lot about how people want to interact with the rest of the world via technology.
Okay, wow. That's well said. Damn, we are in here. We're getting a Harvard level class, Zach.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm a big fan of Crowe and Gene, and I mean, yeah, the app is incredible. Even as a person that I'm not going to tell my whole story, but even from its inception, and I remember the first time I opened it, I'm like, what the heck is this? Literally that same week, I did that video on the top 5 apps for comic book collectors, which is still my best video on YouTube. And before I had even known any of them, I featured it on the channel. I was like, this thing is, I mean, what I love about every other area of collecting and sneakers, fashion, everything, they're doing in the comic book industry. And they're doing it aesthetically, they're doing it with the right features, the accessibility, the information, they're doing it in a way that it should have been done 10 years ago with what it's incredible.
Well said, Zach.
Yeah.
So my first experience with Shortboxed, the more I think of it, might have been your video. I think I remember seeing your video. And I'll be honest, I'm not a self-professed a major collector. Like I can count on one hand, maybe one finger, how many slabs I've got. I don't really keep up with the market like that. I think because the podcast keeps me so busy and I'm always just reading. I don't even have. I give away my comics. That's how stupid I am. I am the worst comic seller. I just give my stuff away. But with that being said, I came across your video, and obviously, I still got one foot in that world. Like I'm a spectator. I like to see the prices and the trends and things like that. I'm just too cheap to buy stuff. So, but regardless, I remember, Zach, seeing your video, and obviously, an app called Shortboxed. How was I not going to check it out, right? And I remember thinking how clean it was. Because to Crowe's point, eBay is still, that's, at that point, that was kind of my default place to go. If I was looking for comics, I'd go on eBay. But, eBay is so big, they have no need to change. Their website and their app is so it's
no need for innovation.
Yeah, right. And I work in my daytime job is marketing, so I'm always looking at shit like apps and certain platforms in a certain light. And to this day, I'll look at eBay why is there so much fucking text everywhere? I don't know what to look at. And that was one thing that impressed me about Shortboxed. Shameless, not even a shameless plug, but that was one thing that impressed me about Shortboxed was how clean it was. And as someone that doesn't that, like I just said, isn't that huge into collecting or buying and selling like that, it was really fucking easy for me. I was like, damn, if I could fucking get this, then I think I think I think anyone could hop on there and start buying and selling. Crowe, so what is your role there? Like in just layman's term, what is it that you do? What is the head of marketing and community?
Well, because we are a startup, you'll find that most people in startups have roles just because they need something to call themselves. But I do an incredible amount of stuff all over the board. I mean, I would say that I am responsible for communication. Now, that is every form of communication that you can imagine. The only thing that I don't really do is I don't really talk to investors and that kind of thing. That's where it starts to. That's where my job stops, and that's where Gene's job it begins, I guess, and BJ. So anytime you see a communication, it is coming through me. The marketing design is probably Gene and me. The cleanness is because Gene and I both came from the same tech background, so we kind of learned the same valuable lessons, I think, and we both appreciate them, which is why we started talking about doing a blog in the first place. He also saw like a bunch of Superman graphic novels on my desk. He's like, "Do you like comics?" When I just joined the company. Yeah. And because I finally had disposable income after being in grad school for so long, I went and bought. The first thing I bought was I just replenished my comic collection. So anyway, ADHD again. So the reason it's so clean is because we are obsessed with design. If you look at anything Shortboxed does or puts out, is we obsess over making something look good because one, it reflects on us, but two, we think that people deserve to have the high quality brand experience that people have in other like Goat, for example, is one of our shining examples.
Perfect example.
We love Goat. I love Goat. I'm a shoe guy. We all like streetwear, so we're kind of like in that area.
There are two
like
apps.
That's why I look like a cartoon.
There are two apps that I open every day. I don't care how my wallet's looking. Goat and Shortboxed. I open them every day. I just sit there and cry. Be like, I can't buy these Union Air Jordan 1s. I can't buy this X-Men #1, but you know what?
Maybe the two worst collectible hobbies to have: sneakers and comics.
Right?
Good
Listen,
God!
I'll turn my camera real quick. Like, come on, man, come on.
If I was home, I would. I have my. I wear all my shoes. Wear your
kicks, man. Wear your kicks.
For sure.
You gotta wear them.
So
communication.
Okay, and then where's the community aspect come in? Where's that part of the title come in?
Well, so. The most important thing that we think at Shortboxed exists is the community, right? This is where we think we have the advantage because we've actually been part of the community. We've spent a decade getting to know people, learning what's important, being a part of the community, right? That's the one thing that pushes us beyond what we think other companies, even if they have more money than us, are capable of. Everything that we do is with the community in mind. And so my job is to be like, okay, when we start growing as a company, we cannot lose the community. And we don't want to leave the community. We don't want to outgrow. There's no outgrowing a community because that is the fundamental building block of a collectible hobby, but also how we get better. So that is where community comes in. How do I interact with the community? I make sure to highlight the community. I make sure to be a liaison with the community. So a couple of the big programs that you'll see that I've started are the Street Team program. Zack's part of it.
Oh yeah.
Because one, there's going to be places where I can't be. I'm also fairly new to collecting myself. I'm not some lifelong collector. I'm a lifelong reader, but collecting and reading are not necessarily the same thing. So there's also people that I can't connect to because I don't know them, and so when we have more street teamers, for example, they can go to different parts of the country and talk to different people that we can't do because there's 5 of us in San Francisco or whatever's in the home office, right? We got other remote workers, but we just can't be everywhere. We're not Google, So the street team is super important to us because one, they're they're trusted by the community because they're members of the community. And that's what we want to say. We just want to be like, hey, we're still here. We're going to be working on this thing, but we want to make sure that we have representatives out. We want to make sure we're still getting feedback. We want to make ourselves as broadly available as possible. And so when the street team members go out to cons, or when they work cons with us, or sometimes they'll go and like the host events where they are, or even when they post content, that is our way of saying this is still the most valuable thing to us. If you look at our social channels, or even in the app where we have all of our content, it's community members, street teamers. Yeah. We have community picks, people who aren't in a street team. So I don't know how else to say it. It's just the most important thing. And so you have to have somebody who cares about it, and it has to be their job to care about it. And so that's why I was brought in, to be specifically the person that cares about it. I also have a background in the business aspect of community building from a tech side. So that, it just is within my realm of expertise. So that's where community, that's what I do. It's just making sure that we're involved, we're listening, and we're not missing anything because we've become something else as we've become a business entity,
Yeah. I like to hear that you guys are keeping the community front and center. And you mentioned, no matter how big you guys get, it'll never be about like, it sounds like you guys don't ever want to be in a position where you forget about the people that made your company, that made the business, that made the brand successful. And I think that's very apparent, your focus on community, but also sellers too, man. I will say I found myself last night reading through your FAQ page, and even though I have nothing to sell to put on there, I feel like I could get on that app right now and fucking sell. I'm like, damn, they really answered every question I could possibly have as a seller. Like, even as a buyer, I feel like the transparency is very refreshing. The process seems very simple. But I got to say, my favorite part of the app is just the Discover page, which kind of harkens back to your comment about highlighting the community, and also like the street team, and being kind of and having a finger on the pulse of like content creators in this space. Like I know I've seen Zack's content on that Discover page. I've seen
amazing.
Stuff from the home. Yeah, exactly. Come on, man, it's Comic Ventures. But I've also seen content from the homies at Oblivion Bar on the app. I've seen you'll post like the trailers and stuff. So Discover page for someone like me that isn't ready to open that can of worms of buying and collecting. I do like the fact that you guys offer much more than just than just that. You guys are putting a spotlight on, content creators and people doing good work in comics. So yeah, man, solid stuff.
Well, like, I think what a lot of businesses don't get, or like, depending on the industry, we're not a utility. Comic collecting is a community. It is not a separate thing. It is that comic collecting is community, right? So there is no separation. When we talk about it, the nuance between what is and how things are, right, is, and so that's a little high-minded way of saying there is no. It's like saying that an apple is also a fruit, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, of course it is. Yeah. There's no separation. It just is one version of that. That's not even a great example. There's no difference. There's never. You were saying earlier, like, you're never going to forget community. It cannot be forgotten. It is the most important thing. We're never going to put community in front or behind, because community exists there whether or not we want it to. It is a force that we work around, not a force that we invent, right? So we just support it. So I think that's always the most important thing, because like, otherwise you're just sitting in the dark reading something by yourself, and that's fine. There are other industries that cater to that. But what the real joy people get is coming together
and sharing.
So that's why it's so important. there are studies. This is going to get out of hand.
Take us there, Crowe. Come on. They're in your bag right now.
Yeah, this is it. This is like, I study community. It's my expertise, but like, one of the things that you'll find if you study people who live the longest and have the happiest life based on like some given set of parameters, that is like, waking up, having a purpose, having support from a strong familial and friend network, right? The people that live those longest happy lives have community that they wake up for. Nobody in places that suggest like individual, like America is not really good at this, by the way. individualism, those people don't usually fit into that. But you'll find like religious communities fit into this. By the way, I'm not here to talk about religion. I'm just saying that they provide a sense of purpose and community based on a central belief. Those kinds of people with some strong central purpose, those people live the longest because they have something to wake up for, something to connect with, and something to do every day. And so that is so important, that tribalism that humans are built with, that exist within us as sort of whatever you want to call it, instinctual. If you're more high-minded and spiritual, maybe it's something like that, but I believe it's instinctual. That is how we see it. It is intrinsic to the human experience on this planet, so that we make it the most important thing.
Man,
well said. I'm going to say,
if y'all aren't fired out about the Shortboxed app yet, you should be on that thing right now. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah. I forgot I was talking about Shortboxed.
You're like, wait, this is a comic podcast, right? No, that was really well said. Zach, you know what? And I have no follow-up for how well said that was. So I'm going to take it to someplace extremely nerdy. And Zach, I want to hear, man, because it sounds like, obviously you're a believer in Shortboxed. You are you're a regular user, you're an advocate, you're a spokesperson, you're on the street team, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Tell me what's been the best thing you bought off that app. What's been your favorite purchase off the Shortboxed app?
So I got my I got my Marvel Spotlight 5.
The Ghost Rider.
I think I got this one from them a month ago, maybe like a month ago. That's been my favorite purchase there. I've made 4 purchases so far. I also have a Star Wars 1 in the other room. And then I did a Secret Wars 8 for giveaway. I just decided, hey, listen.
That's right, yeah.
My money. I'm going to do what I want with it. And then support the channel. And then I actually have another giveaway coming up. I kind of want to do one every year, so I'm going to hold my tone on what book it is. But I think people in the community will be really excited. And, of course, I purchased it on Shortboxed. By the way, if you're a collector and you can fund the hobby, there should be no reason you're not getting all your books from Shortboxed. I'm just telling you guys right now.
I won't lie.
There's no reason.
It was pretty enticing. The prices I was seeing, I was like, yo, this isn't that crazy. Badr, don't you fucking do it. Don't you do it. That was my bank. My bank immediately called me, and the rep was like, don't you fucking do it. You already bought, your sneakers account is already looking crazy. All right. But I am very impressed by the range of sellers that are on Shortboxed and the different prices you can get. And there's a ton of grails. Zach, what's
crazy?
Zach, tell me, and I want to hear from Crowe too.
Yeah.
What is a grail that is currently on Shortboxed right now that you've got saved, that you're ready to pull the trigger on as soon as a nice tax refund hits?
Oh my gosh, man! If I pull up my favorites right now on this,
pull it up, Zach.
Listen, I'm recording, so I can't. But listen, it's crazy. So actually, this year, I was hoping to get a Giant Size X-Men issue #1. So that's going to be my next grail. That's, if you don't know, listeners, if you don't know, that's the first appearance of a lot of our favorite X-Men in comic continuity. So first appearance of Storm, Nightcrawler, Colossus, and Nightcrawler is my favorite X-Men. It's actually the second appearance depending on if you count Hulk 181 or Hulk 180 as his first appearance. We won't have that debate. It is the second or third appearance of Wolverine as well. So great cover, iconic book, and definitely has been on my list for a while. I opted to get a tattoo, really expensive tattoo in this Marvel Spotlight 5, and kind of pushed out the 2024 plans. But listen, it's still one of my favorites, and if some money comes my way miraculously, and I take care of priorities first, that's going to be next. But I heard you mention your favorite thing on the app being the Discover page, Badr, and I did want to mention and just add that, listen, my favorite thing on the app as a seller is that FMV indicator. That gives me so much confidence. If you're not confident on...
Wait, Zach, real quick for the internet, what is the FMV indicator?
So, and Crowe could probably explain it a little bit better than me, but essentially it's a fair market value. So to put it in economic terms, fair market value is essentially looking at sales data, right, from, how is sales data tracked for this book throughout time, and taking that data and applying it to the current sale price, right? So if you have, let's say, a random book, Daredevil issue #1, first appearance of Matt Murdock / Daredevil in Marvel Comics 1963, right? So you look up that book. Let's say it's a CGC graded 3.0. I don't know the price of this book by heart, by the way, so I'm just going to say a price. It's a really expensive book, so I'm saying, like, let's say it's $4,000, right?
That's right.
If that's right. So
pretty close, yeah.
Let's say it's $4,000, right? Somebody listed on Shortboxed for $5,000. Well, that's on the seller, but at the same time, what Shortboxed does is it protects both the seller and the buyer by saying, hey, listen, this little indicator on this, it'll have like a red diamond. Hey, listen, this little indicator, this book's kind of steep. Maybe make an offer on it, or maybe look for a different book that's maybe the same grade, but closer to what's tracking in the FMV indicator. And then you'll see that if it's moderate, it's yellow, which is not bad, right? I think the book I just
so it arms you. So it arms you. I like the word protects you as a buyer. So it arms you with the knowledge. The
information. Yeah, exactly.
Because if you were to go on their biggest competitor, eBay, you would have to manually do all of that. You'd have to go to sold and listed and kind of compile this shit. This and that. So that's pretty. Oh, that's super cool.
Awesome. And for new collectors, that's your best. They're your guardian angel right now. Like that's why I'm like, if you're a new collector, I understand you're a seasoned collector. You've had your habits, but if you're new to this hobby, you shouldn't be getting your books anywhere else. It's just there's too much there for you to protect you. It's just too much.
Ladies and go ahead.
One of the things we hate is when you walk away. Again, this is from the years and years of being in the community, buying graded comics, trying hundreds, if not thousands, of different deals and conversations with people. One of the things that we wanted to avoid is somebody walking away from what should be a joyous moment and wondering if they got ripped off.
Oh yeah,
it is the worst. It's like there's a gross example I was about to say, but it is like, but like it is like, I don't know. It's like eating something and being like, instead of just being able to enjoy your food, just being like, is this going to clog my arteries? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just want to enjoy it, right? So the FMV indicator came from that. Like, we want you to say, hey, I'm looking up, by the way, your Daredevil 1 at 3.0, 3.5, it's about $4,000. The fact that you just guessed that is pretty incredible.
Listen, I'm on that app every day. That's actually pretty bad that I could do that, actually. So
yeah, I was like, I was looking it up because I was like, I'm gonna see where he's at. But I also look at Daredevil ones, and I know
prices.
He got it.
Zack is a walking Overstreet catalog. Right?
I literally am. I'm literally a walking comic historian price guy. Yeah. Like, it's really weird.
But yeah, so like the FMV indicator, we have 3 different colors: red, yellow, and green. And like green says, the way that Shortboxed does this is we look at all publicly available sales data, including Shortbox sales data, and we say, okay, now Zack explained this perfectly. I'm just telling you from the back end. We grab that data and we put it through. We have a formula that dictates, where something should be landing given the time, right? Now this is historical data. We have something in the works which will be a little bit more impressive soon, and I'll talk about that. We'll talk about it at Shortbox Live. I keep calling it Xbox Live, by the way, which Gene gets. He's like, "Hey, it's Shortbox Live. Don't screw that up on my podcast."
No Xbox.
Yeah.
So
there's a Sony house, goddammit.
I play my PlayStation. I've got a fun story about PlayStation someday over a beer. I'll tell you about when I got hired there. So the FMV indicators tell you like, hey, this is a good price, right? And if it's a yellow one, you're like, okay, this is a little bit above. Now that doesn't mean you can't buy it, because sometimes the market doesn't match the current momentum, right? Sometimes those two things are happening, just one lags behind the other. So let's say there's for example, when Damian Wayne got announced he was going to be in the DC universe, the Batman was it 366 or 356 or whatever.
I think you're right.
Those Damian Wayne comics went up super high, and people were like, okay, well, I can sell this high right now. And people were getting the red squares, which was like, hey, this is super high. But that's because you're paying a premium for something, right? You're paying a premium for something because there's potential there. And so like, if you see red on the app, doesn't mean it's bad. It's just like, are you looking at something that has potential, or does this person not know how they're pricing? But so not only is it good for buyers though, because buyers, of course, want to get good deals, but sellers, you don't want to go into something and you're like, well, I don't know how much this is worth. How many different sources do I have to check? If you're on Shortbox, you're going to get information. I'm not going to give the proprietary information, but you're getting a lot of different sources all in the same spot, and we turn it into a color for you. So it's either red, green, or yellow. And if you want to move that book quickly, if you need to sell the book, maybe you need to send your kids to college, or you want to pay a mortgage, or maybe you just want a different book you want to move up. If you want to sell that book, you want to price it to move, you get it in green. If you think that book's going to have potential, a little higher, you go yellow. Super potential, red. So like it helps everybody, and so that means it feels good for the seller and it feels good for the buyer, because everybody has enough information to make an informed decision. Now, in capitalism, I'm not, again, I did study Russian, so this is going to get communisty. In capitalism, people benefit from you not knowing, right? We want to strip that away and just have the pure enjoyment of collecting there, which is why that indicator is so important for us. And the future evolution of that indicator is going to be much more than just looking at historical data. It's going to be projecting future potential in real dollar terms, which is something that's not being done yet.
Damn, nice. It's going to get even more idiot proof, ladies and gents. All right, and that makes me pretty damn excited. All right, I was looking for a means to transition to the actual event. I'm like, man, we haven't talked about it. Jeez, this has been an excellent. This has been an excellent conversation so far. But I want to definitely take time right now to talk about the event, Shortboxed Live. Crowe, what was the
I'm making sure I don't say. I'm making sure I don't say.
Oh, got it.
Listen, welcome to the Shortboxed Live, guys.
Yeah. Crowe, what was the inspiration to go from? Well, I mean, not you guys didn't leave the comic marketplace but to go to. I'm sorry. What was the inspiration to throw your hat in the ring into the world of convention and live events? What inspired Shortboxed Live?
The inspiration is not much different than the inspiration to get into the game to begin with. There are a lot of events where people. This is hard because I'm not. There's a lot of room for improvement in the things that you like. And so when you go to a convention and it is in a dark hall in some, hotel ballroom, and you're kind of looking at, rusty racks and stuff, the people deserve a better experience than that. And sometimes people are doing the best that they can, and that's what they can do. And it's better to have nothing. It's better to have something than nothing, and we totally agree with that. But we really wanted to make sure that the event space gets as much love and attention and respect as we give the app space. So we said, okay, well, if we're doing the app this way, what can we give to collectors that is off of the app? What can we do to make this, to give this the dignity that we think it deserves from a collecting hobby? Because there are certain hobbies, right? Like they have like if you think of tech, for example, they're in these giant halls and everything is super like, it looks nice. If you think of like the game developer conference, these other industries have these amazing events. Now, comics specifically do not really have a lot of these events. There are a couple of big shows that do well. San Diego Comic-Con is not that, by the way. It does pop culture super well, and comics are part of pop culture. Yeah. But we don't count, even though it's called Comic-Con, it has grown beyond. It is. I don't know if transcended is the word, but it has expanded beyond.
Yeah,
it's evolved. Yeah, so it's a pop culture event, and it's wonderful. By the way, I love going to Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con. But like New York Comic-Con can probably lay claim to this. Baltimore can do this, maybe C2E2. But true comic events where people are focused on having the best sellers there, the best books possible, having a high-end production value, we don't think existed, and definitely not on our side of the country, which is the West Coast. So that was the impetus, and we're like, we know this space so well that we can provide a can't-miss experience. And it's a small con. We're not going to have. It's not going to be MegaCon, right? Which is gigantic.
It's going to be better.
It's going to be better, smaller though.
Trust me,
more intimate. Intimate's the word.
I liked MegaCon. That's where I met you, Zack. In person for the first time
last year. Yeah. Oh my gosh,
that was fun, man. So that was the inspiration. We're like, can we provide the respect and dignity for these people in an event that we hold? And we were like, let's give it a shot. So we went out and we're like, here's what does dignity and respect look like? What makes an event why would people want to come from all over the country for this one day thing, right? The sun's getting in my face. And we're like, okay, we got to have the best stuff there. We got to have the most trustworthy people, and we got to have every aspect of collecting available for people to have. And if it's there, it's got to be the highest quality. So we have like CGC, we have CGC graders there, or not graders. We have where you can submit Desert Wind. Yeah. We have amazing collectors, dealers there, the best in the country, we think, with the best stock from books in the bin, best dollar bins to the most rare books you can find, right? So like that's covered. We have an incredible speakers lineup, which is like Reggie Collects. It's going to be Swaggle House. That's how you say it like that. Eric Voss from New Rockstars is going to talk about how
awesome.
How one of the big things that moves. Oh, go ahead. Are you drinking?
Okay. No. Okay, continue. I think we were going to say the same thing, but I want you to say it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Eric Voss, New Rockstars. If you don't know, if you're listening, I assume if you're listening to a podcast, you're probably at least open to digital media.
One of the premier YouTube channels that covers nerd and comic book topics. Yeah, New Rockstars is legit. And
Eric Voss is one of the producers, and he's going to come and talk about how the hobby again that we talk about as if it's like a horse and wagon era technology, how our hobby is actually affected by the way that the world views mainstream comics now. Because right, we all are aware that comics are no longer a couple of kids under the bleachers in high school geeking out over Doc Ock, right? It's the real thing now. So real, in fact, that there's already talk about fatigue. So he's going to talk about how the way that the books move, the way that the market is shaped is through popular culture and the lens of popular culture, and how channels like his and podcasts like this one affect market forces for our hobby. So that's super interesting. Reggie Collects is going to be there. That's super cool. He's going to do his thing. And then Gene's going to give a keynote where he talks about the state of the comic hobby right now, the comic collecting hobby as well.
This sounds
there's more.
There's so much more. There's so much more. There's so much to be excited about.
This sounds like the perfect event for me, and I was excited because that same week I'll actually be I'll be taking a trip to Vancouver. It'll be my first time in Canada. I was really hyped, and then I was looking through the event page for Shortboxed Live, and I'm like, how can I make this happen?
I'll FaceTime you, Badr. I'll FaceTime you, man. You'll be right next to me the whole time, man.
Actually, Zach, I was gonna say I need you to pick up one of these Maria Wolf exclusive
I got you, bro. I got you.
Oh, well. But anyways, if I wasn't going to if I hadn't already had this trip planned, this sounds like my dream convention, right? Like a focus on and it's like Crowe, speaking about meeting folks at comic cons. Me and you met at Heroes Con, which is one of my favorite, probably my favorite. Yes, definitely my favorite comic convention because of the focus on comic culture, comic books, its creators, and things like that. It sounds like you're taking that, and then you're taking attention to detail and aesthetics and combining it. And that's what I'm really enjoying hearing you talk about is that Shortboxed takes the cool stuff from tech that we all like, right? Like the aesthetics, the kind of cool factor to it. And you guys are trimming all the douchey, tech bro stuff and putting in place of that, like a care for like community, right? Like a true passion for comic books and subject matter. So I'm won over. Shortboxed Live sounds epic. And Zach, you're going to be in attendance, right?
I'm going to be there. Yeah, I'm going to be there the whole weekend. The event's on Sunday, and I'm super excited for. I can't even tell you how much I'm excited for. I mean, there's the artists alone, the best dealers, the best. I'm excited to meet some of the rest of the street team and some of the creators, like alone.
Y'all are all over
the people in the
country.
industry. Yeah, we're all over the place. So. I can't say enough. Research the event, make it if you can. There's going to be some great exclusives, by the way. I think we're doing, you guys are doing a couple of comic exclusives, exclusive merch. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And I really hope that, cause look, Shortboxed podcast, this podcast, it's global, baby. All right, we got listeners all over. Obviously, like the U.S. is our primary market, and we got some worldly listeners in other countries. But I'm hoping that our West Coast fans, find a way to go to Shortboxed Live. Shortboxed Live in my place. And even what East Coast fans, I the first, I think one of the first bylines you will see on the Eventbrite page for Shortboxed Live is that this is absolutely a show worth traveling to. So I'm hoping listeners from all over the country are hearing this and they're prepping their plane ticket. And if not, what are the chances, Crow, of this becoming an annual thing? Have you guys already talked about that? Or are you waiting for it to see how this goes?
Yeah, I mean, we have to. We are at the size where we need this to be good before we can plan another one.
Okay.
But we've got some pretty big sponsors interested. I mean, this year we had IDW, which is cool.
Wow.
We've got a lot of their creators coming in to do that. We haven't even announced that. I'm announcing it on this show. IDW is partnering with us to sponsor. And then little insider tip, we were talking
exclusive.
With this happened earlier today, so this is brand new.
Oh, come on.
DC was interested and partnering with us next year for this.
Damn,
so that's crazy.
Now they haven't done anything yet, but the head of sales at DC is, I work with him on occasion on some projects that we're doing, and he was like, why aren't we there? And I'm like,
dang. So there you guys have it. James Gunn is going to be at Shortboxed Live.
James Gunn's coming. Well, we lost Kevin Eastman this year, so to a different business deal that he had going on. So we tried to make up for that by getting a lot more people. This looks like some demon is coming through the window.
That sounds awesome. And I wasn't laughing. I'm excited for the news. I was actually, I was chuckling to myself at the idea. I wanted to say, I'm sorry. This might be all right. Now I really want the brand. What do they call it? Not brand recognition, but now this is where I want our two brands to be confused. Now that you guys associate with DC, I'm like, no, we associate with DC. DC is interested in Shortboxed.
Yo, the next episode, Badr is like, listen,
Shortboxed.
If you didn't hear from the last episode, we're sponsored by. We're sponsored by.
There you go. That sounds cool.
Oh my gosh.
Crow, tell us about some of the. Actually, you know what? Let's play this game.
Yeah.
You can fill in. You can fill in the cracks where I missed here. But I'm going to give. I'm going to say the names of some of the comic creators that'll be there. All right. You haven't given the full list yet, so this will be me kind of breaking down some of the names that'll be there, and then Crow, you can fill in who else is going to be there. But I'm going to say the names of some of the creators that'll be in attendance at the event, and I want to hear just a couple of words that come to mind. We'll go Crow, Zack, and then I got 4, right?
Oh, yeah.
How about we kick it off with this creator here that, I'll be honest, is just kind of new on my radar, and I definitely want to pay attention to this person a lot more. Maria the Wolf. Oof. Crow, what comes to mind? You had an audible gasp. For our video watchers, you saw Crow's face when I said that. For our audio listeners, he gasped, right? He almost fainted when I said Maria the Wolf. What words come to mind when I say Maria the Wolf?
Maria is the fucking best. She's a friend of the company. We met her at we all wanted, so I on my, you used to call me an art hound. It's true. I love getting custom commissioned art from people because I think it's like a one of kind thing.
Yeah,
anyways, I ran across Maria the Wolf's art, and her art is just like this super visceral, grimy kind of throwback to horror, but it's a little more poppy than that. And I was like, I've got to get this. I've got to get something by her at San Diego Comic-Con. So I reached out to her, didn't think I'd get in touch with her, but she got in touch with me. So I met her at SDCC a couple years ago, and she was like, I'm not doing anything tonight. Can I come hang out with the Shortboxed crew? And I was like, absolutely. So we went out, drank, had dinner. She is awesome. Okay, so she is, as a person, is awesome. Her art is unstoppable. It's like hot lava is poured all over your favorite character, and the attention to detail, and the page just looks like it's fucking gushing and bloody and messy. She's amazing. She's, again, a friend of the company. We had her do the shirt. She's got a variant done. Every single person at Shortboxed, every single one of us has original art by Maria Wolf in the office. She is incredible. Maria, what's up, girl? I hear you. We're gonna have some Malort soon.
Damn.
Malort is alcohol.
What did you say, Crow? You said her art is like hot lava. That is,
man.
If you see her art, you'll know.
No. That is one of the best fucking descriptors I've ever heard. I think the first time I ever seen her artwork was a Danny Moonstar cover that she did. That was going around.
Good.
It is
right now.
And I mean, that was my first conscious exposure, but it wasn't until I was scrolling through the guest lineup for Shortboxed Live, and you guys had a few of her other pieces, and I'm blown away. You're right. It is like hot fucking lava. It's a very kinetic, very detailed, and it punches you in the face. All right.
She's also indigenous. She's an indigenous creator. So like the Danny Moonstar
cool.
thing also takes on a different sort of
meaning for her. Okay.
A different meaning for her. And,
cool.
But everything she produces is sick. She does like, if you've heard of the game Marvel Snap, she's doing art for that now.
Yeah. Wow.
She is on the verge. She's on the verge of being huge.
Well deserved.
I can see it. I can believe it.
She's the T-shirt alone is insane, man. I want to put the
dude.
Oh my gosh, man.
I can't make it. Someone send me the fucking shirt. That's what
You're
gonna
get a shirt, bro. You're gonna worry about that.
All right, Zach. This one's for you. This name right here definitely grabbed my attention. Yeah. I know some of our listeners will get excited when I say this. Kelly Jones is going to be at Shortboxed Live.
Come on now.
What words come to mind when I say Kelly Jones?
Batman Nightfall. Come on, man. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, man. Like, this is a guy who, what's he been in comics for? I'm looking up, like 30 years or something.
He's an OG. He's a long time creator.
Incredible. I think he's like on the top. As far as creators, I mean, Mitch Gerrits is up there too. I'm trying to I haven't been able to tier them, but I think he's like on the top for me. Like excited. Cool. I'm excited to see Maria the Wolf too, actually, because I love her art. Sure. As far as like some of the newer creators, but yeah, if you don't know who Kelly Jones is, he's essentially a very iconic gothic Batman creator, like like the most gothic looking Batman art and vibe, like that's who I would say is probably more responsible for, if you know the story where Bane breaks Batman's back, like if you know that cover, that story, that whole line, the Nightfall story, that's all him, pretty much. Yeah,
I would have also accepted the word veiny Batman too.
Definitely a lot of veins. Definitely a lot of veins.
Yeah, however, there's also Sam Keith Batman, which is super veiny.
True.
They have the battle of the veins.
Yeah, they are two veiny pros right there. All right, I got one more name. I'm gonna give this one back to Crow. Tom Waltz. Since you just shared the news of IDW and obviously they've got the TMNT property, what words come to mind when I say Tom Waltz, who will also be at Shortboxed Live?
Tom Waltz's Turtles for me. His last Ronin. So, like I told you, the Turtles is the longest lasting comic book and maybe even big property in my life. And so when Last Ronin was released, I had not paid attention to Turtles for a long time. I missed a lot, but that's what I think. I think of Dark Turtle stuff. The thing that got me back into reading Turtles, turned me. I had to go back and read when Jenica came in, who's one of the new Turtles. That's what Tom Waltz is for me. Now that's pretty important to me, but that's also like, I've got this under my eyes. It's also he's also going to be like releasing new stuff while he's there, so he's still working. I think that's going to be great, and we have him doing an interview with Michael Rothman, who actually runs the Shortboxed TikTok.
Nerd Initiative.
And Rothy, Nerd Initiative. Michael Rothman. Rothy is an actual like a real honest to God journalist. He interviewed Kobe Bryant, for example, tons of famous people. That's cool. Yeah. So having him do a Tom Waltz interview, but that's who Tom Waltz is for me. He's Turtles. That's the only thing that matters to me. He got me. I would say Last Ronin is probably one of the stories that really brought me back into comics after I stopped reading for a little bit. So
wow, well said. Damn, dude. This should come as no surprise. I'm a panel nerd. When I go to a comic convention, I'm usually looking at the list of panels, who's speaking, just stuff like that. And it sounds like you guys got a solid line, which I'm still, now I'm really beating myself up over this trip to Canada. Because that would be awesome to sit in on. Crow, what other names did I miss? All right, I mentioned Maria the Wolf, Mitch Gerard will be there. Kelly Jones, Tom Waltz. Who else is going to be at Shortboxed Live?
John Chang, Sarah Neely. Yeah. We got, and then there's a bunch. I actually don't know all of the creators. Those are the big ones. They're all big. But John Jang, Sarah Neely, Tom Waltz, Mitch Gerrits, Maria. those are the ones that personally I'm excited about. However, of course, I'm excited for everybody.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
If Maria the Wolf is your favorite character getting lava dumped all over him, John Chang is like you just have this wave of like I don't even know how to explain it. Like this wave of paint just like blowing out like just I don't even know if she's fire he's water. Like I feel like those two, if you put their artwork next to each other, there's not a lot of I guess parallels, but you can kind of see like you're looking at two totally different styles that just makes so much sense. It's so cool.
Look, on the topic of art, because I loved how Crowe described Maria Wolf's art. I think that's excellent. And I'm gonna have a link to Crowe's, obviously his social in the show notes. Crowe, I mentioned Art Hound because Crowe, that was in your Instagram description, and I fully believe it. Some of my favorite posts that you make is you doing breakdowns of like comic covers. I think you do such a good job of reviewing them and pointing out certain elements of them that I think get kind of overlooked. So yeah, I'm not surprised that you came with the fucking heat for that Maria Wolf description.
Hold on, Doc Shaner. I was like, I'm missing somebody.
Yes,
Doc Shaner's gonna be there. I mean, if you've read, I love Bubble Helmet sci-fi, and he worked on Strange Adventures with Mitch Gerrits, and so anyways, that's another big one I want to say. Dude. It's fantastic.
I know.
And depressing as hell. So be ready for that. make sure you've got something happy and feel good to decide. All right, but folks, once again, just to recap, Shortboxed Live is going to be epic. All right, and I'm beating myself up over this, but I can feel good if some listeners, if some friends of the show will also attend that event and keep my man Zack company, all right, and give Crowe a high five. Go buy one of these Maria Hill exclusive Shortboxed Live shirts. The event once again is Sunday, May 7th, and I had a place, May 7th,
Santa Clara,
California. All right, check that out if you're in the area. And it looks like, even if you're not in the area, it sounds like it is absolutely worth seeing if you can cop some cheap plane tickets. All right, gents. I have one more segment for us to do. All right, I got one more. It's a fun game. All right, Zach, you listen to the show. You know where I'm taking us. Where I'm taking us next. Before we wrap up, let's end on an even higher. It's been a high note this whole time. All right, we've been recording for the last hour and a half. It's been fantastic. But let's take it to the next. You know what? Let's take it to the limit. All right, let's take it to the limit. Let's celebrate the future of comics. Like the very near future, like next month's new comic title.
The future, yeah.
Like the very near future, right? It's time for our next segment, Fistful of Comics.
You can either have a mouthful of tea or a fistful of comics.
Fistful of Comics is a segment dedicated to helping all you comic-curious newbies and loyal Wednesday Warriors find the best new comics, the best starting points, and the best creative teams worthy of your time and attention. And for us to achieve that goal, we got to have our guy, our friend of the show, our sponsor, Ben Kingsbury, help us out with that. All right, he's the owner of Jacksonville's premier comic shop, Gotham City Limit, and he's done all the hard work for us. Right, he's already compiled a list of the best new comic books coming out next month. So he's got his top 3 list of can't miss comics coming out that you should. Damn it, let me do it again. And to help us with that goal, we've called on our good friend, Ben Kingsbury, the owner of Jacksonville's premier comic shop, Gotham City Limit. He's done all the hard work for us, right? He's went ahead and flipped through all the previews. He runs a comic shop, right? What better person to ask about what future comics are going to be great and worthy of your time and investment than a guy who runs a fantastic comic shop. So he compiled a top 3 list of best new comic books that should be hitting a shop near you. Let's go ahead and get some music going and see what he's got for us today. All right. There we go. Music will be playing. Okay, I'm really glad, Crowe, that you brought up TMNT because, spoiler alert, this is a very TMNT heavy list today.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw.
Yeah. And our listeners should know Ben by now. It means that he also came prepared with plenty of turtle puns. So if you enjoy TMNT and turtle puns, you're in for a treat. You understand what I mean with this first one? Here's Ben.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Shortbox listener. I'm Ben K, representing Gotham City Limit in Jacksonville, Florida. And these are my 3 FOC picks of the week you should add to your Shortbox immediately. Let's take it to the limit. First up, IDW Publishing presents TMNT, the 2023 annual. TMNT Out of Time. Sometimes the annual issue of any comic can feel a bit like a money grab. However, this issue has a first appearance of a new villain from the future. What these teenage ninjas run into on a simple patrol will leave them shell-shocked. Realities collide for the brothers as they face a mysterious foe from the future. On a side note, it's interesting the artist drawing this book is named Vlad, because this character from the future has some serious Vlad the Impaler vibes going on.
All right, that was TMNT Turtles Annual #1. All right, Turtles Annual 2023, obviously #1. That hit shops at the end of May, on May 31st. All right, next up, be prepared to take a trip down memory lane with this next one. Ben's tapping into your childhood with this next pick. Listen up.
Next up, and this might sound familiar, IDW Publishing presents TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures Continued #1. Was there anything better than waking up at the crack of dawn to start watching Saturday morning cartoons? Well, not for us 80s kids, there sure wasn't. Join your favorite teenagers in their first multi-part adventure. Remember the Rat King? Well, what happens when his control over rodents begins to wane? And in its place, he finds the ability to control reptile life. Well, nothing good for our heroes in a half shell. Grab a bowl of your favorite sugar-packed cereal and be there for part 1 of The Turtle King.
I don't know about you guys, but I really want a bowl of Honey Smacks so bad right now.
Sounds
Like
a,
just hearing him talk about cereal.
Sounds
has
so
got
good.
Captain Crunch for me, baby. That's Captain
Come
Crunch.
Zach, what's your cereal choice, man?
Man, I didn't do a lot of cereal as a kid, but I think my go-to was like Cookie Crisp.
Oh, okay.
That's like an easy one for me. Yeah,
That's a solid one.
Any day of the week. Any day of the week.
Crow, that was great. All right,
Man, I love
folks.
Cookie Crisp was dope.
All right, folks. That was TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures Continued #1. Sounds like a new series, a new issue 1 start, and that also will be dropping on May 31st. So you could pick that up and the annual on the same day. And last but not least, all right, on this list, and certainly switching it up, is one that I'm very interested in because it's combining 2 of my favorite passions and 2 of my favorite hobbies, comics and video games, into one thing. Here we go.
And last but not least, Image Comics presents Arcade Kings #1 of a 5-part series. Round 1, fight! Fans of Invincible and Murder Falcon, do I have a comic for you? The hottest new player at the Roundhouse Arcade, aptly named Joe, is being constantly challenged, except no one can seem to beat him. However, Joe's past is about to catch up to him. Can Joe combo his powers on a Joey stick with his fists and his fighting family legacy? Grab a copy of Arcade Kings to find out how deep this rabbit hole goes. Well, another week has come and gone, and I'm still Ben K, representing Gotham City Limit in Jacksonville, Florida. If you're around Jacksonville, Florida for Saturday, May 6th, make sure you stop by the Limit for free comic book day. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility, and always take it to the limit.
There we go. Look, do you know what would be my ideal?
Oh, I already know what you're about to say it.
But comic book weekend.
I already know what you're about to say it.
All right, Zach, check this out. This is a 3-piece, right? Friday. I'd have to take the day off. All right. Ideal comic book nerd weekend. Man. Friday, I have the day off so I can go watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3 in like the ultimate, like 4D, Dolby Cinema.
4D.
And then I fly from Jacksonville to fucking Santa Clara, California. No, I'm sorry.
No.
Not yet. That's
not yet. You want to do free comic day first.
Yeah, you're right. Free comic book day at Gotham City Limit on Saturday. And then I catch me a little red eye to Santa Clara, California on Sunday, right? Shortboxed live on Sunday. Come on, man.
Perfect.
It's a great weekend.
That's That's an ultimate comic book 3-day weekend. Right?
I just remember his free comic book day last night. I was like, oops. I usually take my daughter. I was like, all right, well, not this year.
Zach, that means you get to celebrate it in like in new shops in a new part of I guess you have a point. Come on, man. That's going to be a good weekend.
We're gonna be working, so I don't know.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, all right.
Never mind, Zach. Never mind. All right, folks. That was Arcade Kings #1. That comes out May 17th. Fun fact: me and Drew actually spotlighted and got really hype about this when we were flipping through. I think it was last month's preview or the one before that, but it was featured in one of the previous catalogs a few months ago. Full warning, all right, because I'm always trying to look out for your wallets, and I understand the struggle is real, and I'm also cheap. This is a $7.99 book. Image #1, that's $7.99, and I don't know if it's oversized or whatnot. All right, so just full transparency, I will probably still buy it because the premise sounds fucking rad. All right, gents, of the 3 options presented today, TMNT Ninja Turtles Annual #1, TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures Continue #1, Arcade Kings #1. Which one are you most interested in? Which one piqued your interest the most? Crow, take it away.
Ooh, this is hard because all of those things are right up my alley. Arcade Kings, in case you haven't seen me in person yet, I look like somebody who would call himself an arcade king. It's kind of the vibe I give off. It's serving Arcade King. However, as I said earlier in the show, I'm going to be getting Arcade Kings anyway because at Shortboxed we get all Image comics in the office for free, so no need to add that to my pull list.
Oh, slight flex. Yeah, no big deal. Let's breeze over that.
Not even a super flex.
I wouldn't add that anyway. So the hard thing is like what kind of mood do I want to be in when I read a turtle story? Do I want to be reminded of my childhood, or do I want to be like watching them have sort of manic depressive episodes in the sewers of New York City? I'm having those right now, so that would actually hit more, right?
God.
That's different. Like I can I understand what they're going through. So it's funny, like I read the first issue of the Saturday morning cartoons in preparation for the show, because I was like, well, I wonder what that's like. It was perfect. It was literally exactly what you expected. Cartoon turtles, I could hear them in my head.
Cool.
They get caught in some VR machine, and it becomes real for because lightning strikes it, which is wild, and it's just cute, right? Like they're making funny jokes. April O'Neil brings them pizza. They make a bunch of Nintendo references. It's exactly what you want if you want nostalgia. However, I read the annual for the other issue. I can't remember what's the whole title. The other issue's annual #1, and the third panel was like, "What they don't tell you is in the dark, the mind spirals." And I'm like, "That is so true." I'm like, "That's right."
Wait,
because Splinter dies in the. This is not a spoiler. Well, I guess it is a spoiler, but it's
spoiler alert.
Like in the first annual, Splinter dies. He sacrifices himself. So the turtles are sort of like living in the aftermath of Splinter's death, and they are talking about how they are just on the edge, the event horizon of sanity, and that is so like. That is so like. Do I need that now? And so I think I would go for Cartoon Turtles because I am inundated with dark reads. I'm inundated with adult takes on heroes that I've loved my entire life. And sometimes I just want to see Bebop and Rocksteady fall on their butt and Michelangelo throw a slice of pizza at them. And so I'm going with Saturday morning cartoons just for a little escapism.
There we go. I don't blame you at all. That's a very good reason. All right, Zach, what about you?
I was hoping we'd have 3 different choices, but I'm going to get a little sentimental here. TMNT was my very first fandom, even before comics, and aside from Spider-Man, they're my second, favorite. They're really close to my heart, the Turtles, and my daughter now. I've passed down that passion for Turtles, and one of our regular pickups at the comic shop is already TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures. So I am very excited to continue that with her because we bond over those books, and I'm just really excited to keep her going with that.
That's awesome. What's her favorite? Who's her favorite turtle?
Man, so she kind of changes it up every time, and she's always asking me, "What's yours?" And then she'll tailor her answer to which one I like. She'll pick a different one than I
that's
said.
so cute, dude.
But no, she likes Mikey, and my favorite is Michelangelo too. But I think as she gets older, she's more of a Donatello, maybe a Leo, but I don't know. She's got that leadership
come on,
spirit.
Man, Leo.
So I don't know, but yeah, I'll say Mikey because she's just trying to copy me right now.
That's awesome.
I'm a Donnie guy, Donatello.
Listen,
I like them all, but
Leo, man, it's like he's got double katanas, man.
Listen, at least we all have 3 different turtles, so we can all play that Shredder's Revenge game, and we don't have to fight over.
That's a good point. That game is so fun.
It's so good.
Fun.
So good.
All right. Obviously, I'm gonna double down on Arcade Kings. The premise sounds awesome. The colors of that book look. I wish I had the creative team in front of me, but the colors look great. Premise sounds good, and it's a new Image #1. I mean, I've said this so many times. You can't go wrong with a new Image #1 to at least get like a taste test. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that is. But yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, overall solid list. Big shout outs to Ben. If any of those pique your interest, listeners, hit up your local comic shops. Like I said, all of those books will be hitting your shop sometime starting mid-May to the end of May. Go to your local comic shops. Get your pre-orders in now so you don't miss out. And remember, even if you don't live in Jax, you can still take it to the limit. You could shop for comics, collectibles, and exclusive variant covers by going to GothamCityLimit.com. And I know they've got a new X-23 exclusive variant done by Tyler Kirkham.
Yeah.
I need to go buy. Yeah, I need to buy. And he's actually got a set. He's got a trade dress and a regular cover. I think I'm gonna buy another set. I bought one for myself. I'll buy another one to give away on the show later on. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, go hit up your local comic shops. Get these orders in. Go to GothamCityLimit.com if you want to take your shopping experience to the limit. What up, Crow?
I got a question. Before we end this, you asked when in the preparation, you were like, what is your grail? And I was so excited to hear what your grails are because I love talking about grails. What are you looking forward to right now in the collecting world?
Man, wow, the tables have turned.
Yeah.
I am now, I'm now the interviewee. No, that's a good way to wrap it up. I'm going to be honest, Crow. I hearing you and Zach talk about like the books that you guys have purchased from Shortboxed, it got me. I was like, I could not think of like one singular comic that I was really like in hunting out. I'm in like this weird manga phase right now.
Okay.
But on the comic side of the house, last episode was the last episode. It was when I had Eli. An episode or two ago, Eli Schwab from Cosmic Lion. We were talking about like the Heritage Auctions, the last big like Heritage Auctions news and things like that. And right now on my radar is buying original comic art. I have 1 or 2 pieces that were gifted to me. I've never bought my own like original piece of like a panel or a cover. I have like commissions and sketches, but I want to start getting into that world. Yeah. And for a lot of the reasons that we kind of talked about, just being like an art hound and appreciating comic art as like this, on the same level as fine art. So that's where I'm at right now. And if I could find anything by like my favorites, like if I can get a panel or a page from like Spider-Man Blue or Daredevil Reborn, like my favorite books. Nice. I think I would, I'd be in heaven, or something by like John Buscema or something like that.
Man, good. Get ready to spend some Skrilla.
That's gonna be crazy.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna try to get rid of another hobby or two to build up funds. Zach, what's your grill?
I mentioned the GSX one, the Giant Size X-Men one. I think that's my next grill. If you're asking me what my grill is, like if I hit the lotto and I ended up on the app, it's the very obvious Amazing Fantasy 15. Right?
Oh yeah,
it's very obvious.
Gotta have it. Yeah.
I'm gonna be a little cliche with no shame because listen, you're lying if you don't say that's your grill. You're lying.
No.
I know.
All right, I got a weird thing. I got a weird thing for you here. I do not care that much about Spider-Man.
Come on, man.
I know,
I'll
dude.
see you guys.
I know. I'll see you later.
Wait. I'm so glad Crow waited to the end of the show.
Yeah.
Because I would have cut this interview right there.
Right there.
5 minutes in. Yeah.
Here's the thing. So I like Spider-Man now, but when I was growing up, Spider-Man was not part of my life. I don't know what happened, by the way. I know I'm weird, right? Like I know this is strange. I did not watch Spider-Man. I didn't run across comic books. I read Image and DC books. I read X-Men, but like I didn't watch the TV shows. The first time that I even was like that Spider-Man even came around for me was like the Tobey Maguire movie. Mm-hmm. And I was well into I was like in my teens by that point, right? I just I don't know what happened because for somebody who reads comics, right, you're gonna run into Spider-Man. I just never got it. I know.
So
I don't know what happened. I mean, I have some big spider. I'm collecting spider books because the art is so. Because when you become a collector and you see it so often, it grows on you. So like, I have a 0.5 collection, and so I'm trying to get the first 50 of ASMs in 0.5s, which is hard to do.
Oh yeah.
So I've got an ASM in 1.5 that's on the app right now that I'm thinking about buying, but it's 4K. And part of me wants to use that for Adventure Comics 210, which is the first appearance
Good choice.
of the Super Dog.
Good choice.
Actually, and it's super hard to find.
Yeah.
Wow. Actually, I had one just come to mind because I seen it at Collective Con, and I could not afford what they were asking for. But it was, I want to say it was it was a San Diego Comic Con brochure or what do they call it? Program guide.
Wow.
I know what I already know what you're talking about.
Well, Crow, help me out here. I believe that program guide, and I can't recall the number right now. Wasn't it the first like actual like use of Spawn in a book, right?
It's number 2. It's number 2.
San Diego Comic Con program guide number 2, I think, has like the first image of like Spawn or something in it.
That's
and it's like this beautiful.
Are you thinking about Malibu Sun?
You know what, man? We're not live. Let me fucking look this up. Spawn. Oh, actually, it might have. Is it Malibu Sun 13?
Malibu Sun. That sounds right to me. Like, because the first San Diego Comic Con 2 is big for being first Hellboy.
Okay.
What people think about. Yeah.
Perfect. That's what I want to say. Yes. All right. So San Diego Comic Con pamphlet or program guide book 2 has this really silly cover, and I can't recall the name of the artist off the top of my head right now. I want to say it's like a classic like cartoonist.
It's Don Martin.
Damn, man, Crow is the man. He got it all, man. Art hound for real. But it is the first like official appearance of Hellboy, and you would look at this cover and you're like, wait, Hellboy isn't that? But it is like this beautiful like shade of blue and like the big old like parrot looking bird on it, and this plumber on it, and it is so like it is so deceiving, but it goes for a pretty penny. And I think something Hellboy or early Spawn, I love like how early Spawn was showing up, and like Malibu Sun, and then I think lately, like just recently, cartoonist Kayfabe found that he was in a very early like Wizard issue number 2 or something. So like books like that like really intrigue me. Like not the official comic books, but things like San Diego, the program guys, this magazine has it. That's what like really intrigues me.
Nice.
Badr, I'm gonna blow your mind real quick because
please.
I'm gonna give you a better key. And it's got Hellboy on the cover, and it's his actual first appearance. It's Dime Press number 4. It's an Italian comics magazine, and it is the actual first appearance of Hellboy.
I'm familiar with that. That's right.
Unless you count, which I don't, but some people do, Salt Lake City Comic Con pamphlet 1988 or something like that. But it was like it has a demon that has Hellboy. The Hellboy like buckle, but it doesn't look like Hellboy yet. But I think what counts is the first appearance of Hellboy. Dime Press 4, Italian magazine. They only made 2,500 of them, and a lot of them got damaged because of shipping. So there's only a few of them out there.
Buddy, you're selling your house. Because
you can get a low grade. You can get a low grade for 1,500. It's affordable.
You know what? You might have managed to make this I think this is official. My new official grail is Dime Press 4 because to your point, Hellboy is on that cover, and it's like an early prototype. It's the white and black version of himself, and it's a Mignola cover too. So it's like it's a real win.
Sick.
It is
sick.
really sick.
It's better than San Diego Comic Con 2 is like classic, and you see it all over the place, and so you kind of just like it sits in your head, and you're like, oh, that's cool, that's fine. But that Dime Press 4 cover is baller.
It's sick.
Oh, it's actually not bad.
Yeah, and it's Italian. I mean, come on.
It's
got a little Euro flair.
Yeah. So that's it. So that's a good one. My grail right now, Adventure Comics 210 is my next affordable grail if I can find it. It's just so hard to find. But my real grail is my favorite artist is Mobius.
Oh man.
Good we taste. Actually listen, you could quick plug. Mobius was actually featured last year, right, Badr? Which episode was that? Great episode
we did
on Mobius.
Yeah, we did an artist.
The year before.
We did an artist spotlight episode all about Mobius, and it like to this day, it's like one of our top 5 best played episodes, and one of my favorite ones. So
he's my. I mean, that's where this is the Mobius Galactus.
Nice.
That's what that is. But like I've got a piece of original art by Mobius. It's a sketch, so it's like inside of a book. So that's great. It's my most prized possession. It wasn't even my most expensive one. I got lucky because they're so hard to find. But I want, and they're so expensive, art. I want something from the Inkle.
Nice.
But a page from the Inkle costs 20, 30, 40, 50K.
For good reason. That is a classic.
If listeners don't know who Mobius is, listen to episode, I think it's 334. I think you guys said that. Yeah.
Has Zach become the official artificial historian?
Listen, I'm both at listen to Shortbox and Shortbox. I am like y'all's like walking ambassador. All right, I stay on top of it.
Well, I appreciate that too. You're killing it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but check out that episode because one, it's a really good episode, but two, you're doing yourself a favor if you don't know who this artist is and his impact on not only comic art but just on the industry in general. So.
Facts.
Yeah. He's incredible. Right. He's incredible.
All right. Ryan, I'm going to have, first of all, both of you, this has been a fantastic conversation. This has been a great way to wrap up a very hectic and busy week. Great way to spend a Friday night. Ryan, I'm going to have links for folks to download the Shortboxed app. I'm going to have the ticket page for the event in the show notes as well. And like I said, I'm going to have your a link to your personal social as well, so people can give you a follow, can check out Shortboxed themselves, maybe even buy tickets and attend the event themselves. If anyone does attend the event, I'm begging for you to send us an email, tell us about your experience. Zach, I want to definitely get a recap from you as well.
Yeah,
all right,
I'll be doing a lot of coverage.
Cool.
Not officially through Shortbox unless they ask me to, but I'll be having my stabilizer there, and whenever I'm not working there, I'm going to be going crazy getting content and sharing and telling people what I'm up to and coming back with a recap. So I'm excited to do that.
Done deal.
Yeah.
Done deal. Ryan, do you have any plugs that you want to mention right now? Anything to share with the listeners? Upcoming projects, app features, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, I mean, it's just the end of the episode, and I got to head out. But like, we are about to launch a game-changing set of features that will change how any collector collects. And it's going to happen, and we're going to announce it's going to happen a week before live, Shortbox Live. So in about a week and a half, 2 weeks from now, which is April 14th, we will break your life and put it back together in the best way if you're a comic book collector.
Oh, man, I'm excited now.
And we have some huge announcements about our next set of features, the ones after the ones coming up, which will also just we're super excited. We've been working on it for a year and a half, the new version of the app. It's got everything you could possibly want in terms of tools for comic collecting all in one spot. No more going to 7 different websites. No more going to keeping track of stuff in a notebook unless that's like your thing. We got it. I can't go into it any more than that, but that's happening soon. Otherwise, just follow Shortbox wherever we are. Hope to see some of you at live. We're at every big con, and if we're not there, the street team's at other cons. We love to hear from you, and I hope I can meet you someday.
Hell yeah. Well said. Ryan, you've been fantastic. Zach, thank you for co-hosting this episode.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your nights. You guys be well, take care, and you guys are always welcome back, all right?
Hell yeah.